Hello, world. Can you see us? Hopefully, this thing is up. Welcome to our very first LinkedIn Live StreamYard Leafy Seminar event. It's going to be really cool. Diane, you there?
Yes, I'm right here.
Okay, awesome. I think this is going to basically get streamed out to the LinkedIn world. In fact, I just see popped up on LinkedIn about a 10-second lag of the real world. So anyway, hello. Hi, Dan.
Hi, Sam.
So we've got some folks with us, which is great. We'll give people a few minutes to pop in, and we can have a nice little conversation. So, Dan, one question I have for you before we got started. I know we spoke yesterday as we were kind of getting ready for this. I have to imagine you guys are getting just calls all day long from folks who are just freaking out about their energy bills, asking for new contracts or what can you guys do. Is it really as bad as what everyone says in terms of energy rates these days?
It is pretty bad right now. The pricing has been high, and there's really not a lot of options out there. One of the things that we do is bring you the price off the grid, so there's not a lock into the contract. So a lot of people are landing with us because we're month to month. You can get back out of it if you find a better deal, but finding a better deal right now is pretty tough. The forward markets are pretty high as well. So it would appear that, it's going to be hard to find a fixed price that's anywhere near reasonable. Yeah, we are getting a lot of calls.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I bet. No, it's crazy. I know folks who are logging in, listening to this, watching are acutely aware of the fact that energy prices are going through the roof and are kind of looking for solutions that they can hopefully deploy to at least get some sort of relief on their power bill. It may not be the rate necessarily, but it'll be something. So, yeah, I'm looking forward.
That's what energy is about, for sure, just to try to make things more real and help the customers to make the most of our product.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear more about it. And we'll just kind of get the ball rolling. For folks who are just showing up, good afternoon. My name is Sam Milton. Diane Miro from Actual Energy is here. And this is our second session in our Leafy seminar webinar series on energy cost reduction. And the idea behind this series is that energy costs are getting high, they're higher, and it's painful for folks. So we want to bring solutions to people in the cannabis and indoor horticulture space to really understand kind of what their options are. So a quick little introduction to the seminar series for those of you who are new to this. Leafy Seminars started out being an in-person event about 3 or 4 years ago. And we've taken it to the interweb now. Of course, with COVID, many of us went into our virtual worlds, and we began doing these Leafy seminars online and Zoom. This is our first LinkedIn version, which is pretty cool. So we'll see how this goes. Folks can definitely please jump in with questions and the comments. And this will live forever, more or less, on LinkedIn. And also in YouTube, and we'll figure this out. This is my first LinkedIn Live event. So if it's a total failure, blame me, not Diane. I think it should be good. So we've had a series of events in the seminar series. I'm touching on all matters of basically what it takes to run a good cannabis business. I'm looking for more ideas, more content as well. So if anybody out there has a burning issue they really wanted to share with the world, reach out and we can discuss. In this energy cost reduction webinar series, we want to make a focus on what are those things that can really help relieve some of the pain of high energy bills for growers these days. A few weeks ago, we had Matt Stewart and Matt Station from Atlas Energy Retail, or Retail Energy, come in and gave us a high-level picture of what was happening in the energy space. What are some of the trends that people are experiencing? What's the historical record look like, and what are we doing moving forward? They spoke a bit about kind of some of their options. Today, I invited Diane here to talk about what are the implications of your real-time energy use? What are the benefits and pitfalls of trying to figure out, how you can kind of play the market around, using time of use rates, but also kind of what are the real, positive outcomes of being smarter about when you use your power. In the coming months, we want to also focus on something near and dear to my heart, which is solar power and renewable energy. And how can cannabis businesses truly profit and benefit from the promise of renewable energy? There are lots of questions and intricacies out there that make it a little bit harder sometimes for cannabis businesses to use clean power and solar in particular. We're going to discuss that. And then as subsequent, we're talking about what are some of those things that growers can do within the four walls of their facility to really to be more efficient, to reduce their energy usage. So just a few notes on today's session. We're going to take this hopefully no much further past 12:30. Diana and I can hang out for the next hour or so, but we're going to try to give you guys a break at 12:30 so you can go about your day. But there's going to be a lot to discuss, so we won't belabor all this housekeeping too much. But please put questions in the comments on the side here. We'll get to them as we can, and certainly at the end of our presentations, we'll have a time for Q&A. So feel free to think about what you want to ask. And again, I think Diana and I are both going to be available yes, basically through email, phone, that kind of thing for follow-up questions. We have our contact information at the end. And again, this will be recorded and the slides will be available for you. And I will put together a survey and see how this went, put it on the LinkedIn comments afterwards, so you can let us know how this was for you and how we can do things differently next time if needed. So real quick about my group, Enlighten Your Grow. We are a project of Climate Resources Group, which is my umbrella company. And Enlighten Your Grow, we work with cannabis businesses to help them grow more for less. So really kind of bring a focus on efficiency and cost savings that can result in higher profits, which is what in this era of raising cost, increasing profits is essential to survivability. So we do energy efficiency work with utilities and making sure that our clients and customers get the biggest rebates that they can. And we do compliance work in Massachusetts and other states where there are energy and environmental rules in place to reduce the environmental footprint of the cannabis industry. So anything energy sustainability, we love working with our cannabis businesses, and you can see a list of our clients here on the slide. So real quick, some context for this discussion is energy demand and grow operations. So what is energy demand? If you think about your power usage, you have a total amount of power used over a period of time. Let's say a year. Well, let's say a month, right? So you use 100,000 kilowatt hours per year, per month. It doesn't really matter when, just that's the absolute number. And that's what it is, right? But energy demand really gets to when you're using that power. So if you turn all the light switches on at once, every single piece of equipment, your power demand spikes way up. If you put one switch on at a time, or every few minutes or so, and kind of are very careful not to overload your capacity, then you have a lower energy demand. And paying attention to energy demand is important, not just because it creates less strain on your system, on your electrical system, within your facility, but it can reduce your bills. How does it do that? Well, your typical commercial account for electricity is comprised of multiple different pieces, but the two biggest pieces are your supply and distribution. And part of distribution is your energy demand. So the way the utilities will do it is they will look at kind of what your peak was, what your highest electricity usage for that given period was, and they will look at that number and then multiply it by a certain number. That can often equal up to half of your commercial power bill, and given what power rates are doing these days, that's definitely no joke. The demand charges can go up and down a little bit. And Diane, I'd kind of love to kind of get some of your life experience about demand charges, but they can be significant from what I've seen. Another reason you might want to look at this in Massachusetts, certainly, and I think Illinois as well, is that the Massachusetts Cannabis Control Commission in their regulations actually require cultivation applicants to demonstrate that they thought about energy demand. The intention is to at least kind of spur some sort of curiosity around energy demand and kind of what options basically how does it affect your business, and they want to force you to ponder over that a little bit and say, okay, well, if this is going to result in a higher than necessary power bill, what can I do to address that? And you are required by state law in Massachusetts to attest to the fact that you've thought about that. It doesn't require you to do anything, but it requires you to think about it. The third thing, which is interesting about energy demand, which is kind of cool, is that you can actually get paid by the utilities to do things that will reduce your demand on your grid or on your own power draw. In Colorado, for example, your energy efficiency incentive is just a function of kind of how much you are reducing your power use during those peak hours, which is like 2 to 6 usually. And they'll incentivize you to do that. So they'll pay you more to do that. There's some forward capacity markets are getting a little bit, into a different, part of the industry now.
Yeah.
But you can actually, bid in your ability to reduce, your demand over certain times. And I haven't seen much in the cannabis space, they're getting to that. Dan, I'm really curious to know if you've seen that. Hold that answer. Really about energy demand, I think is kind of often overlooked, and something that I think is really cool about what actual energy does is that they will show you directly how when you use power correlates to your carbon footprint. And the reason this is important is during those peak hours when everybody has their air conditioning blasting, their lights on, they're going, gung ho. When there's more power demand on the grid, the utilities, well, actually the grid operators, will call on every single power plant in the region to turn on. And when they call on all of the plants that usually aren't on, those tend to be the nastiest, filthiest little suckers out there. They're old, they're powered by oil, coal. I mean, they're just not pretty things. And so when you make the grid operator turn those on, then you are dramatically increasing the amount of pollution in the air as a result from that. Because they're the backup ones, they're saved for last, but they're bad. So you want to be able to reduce those, and if you can help reduce your energy demand during those peak hours, then you're going to be doing a solid for the planet. So I'm going to leave it there for this little intro. Dan, I'm going to hand it off to you to talk about actual energy and your thoughts on not just energy demand, but time of use and all the other ways that you guys can help cannabis businesses reduce their power bill. So,
great. Thanks, Sam.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many parts to this that it's difficult to decide which way to go. But yeah, as Sam was talking about, the demand charges, there's demand charges actually on both sides of the bill. There's the supply side of your bill and a distribution side. Generally, when we look at the month to month, there's that demand charge on your monthly bill. But on the supply side, there's actually is affected as well by actual capacity costs, which are the one single day hour of the year that sets the ICAP charge for the ISO New England. So being able to work on that particular hour makes a big difference in your supply cost if you're on a pass-through capacity charge. So that's one of the bigger items that we generally help our customers work with. We provide alerts to let you know when that day is an hour is likely to be. We also work with you to try to determine what things that you can do. I know it's a very sensitive business and you're not going to shut your whole plant off and risk losing millions of dollars of product, but there are small things that you certainly can do to help mitigate that highest peak. and we help you to look at those as well. So that's one of the three ways, and there's probably more than three ways to save on your power bill, but we looked at this as three ways to do it. Um, the thing that sets actual energy apart is that we do sell power by the hour. So every hour of every day, 8760 days, 8760 hours a year, we price the actual energy at the actual price it's being produced on the ISO. So we pass through all the charges from the ISO, the demand charge, the energy charge. There's a losses component. There's also mandatory green um, parts that we have to buy as well. So all of those are transparent on our bill, and we show you those to you. I think we have a slide that shows some of that. Who's running this? There we go. So the dynamic pricing you can see here on the left-hand graph. The bottom part is your capacity charge. The green part is the RPS requirement, Renewable Portfolio Standard. Then there's some ancillary charges. This yellow part is the part that moves with the grid. Every hour is priced on its own. The little orange part on top is just what we get for carrying the electricity for you. We are a licensed supplier. We're not a broker. We generally don't work with brokers. We work with some just to get our product out to everyone that wants to do it. We have an intelligent platform, a dashboard that helps you to see what your pattern of usage is, what the upcoming day looks like in the day ahead market for pricing, and also the peak demands. So we offer all of this information, and then to the right, we offer energy solutions. So we can go through and help you to understand the best way to make the most of this dynamic pricing. So that's really the three big pieces in our platform that help customers navigate the pricing on the grid. And as Sam said, right now the pricing is very high in general, and we only pass through what's actually happening on the grid, the ISO. So we're not looking for the futures contracts and the finance and all of those layers of risk are really not present in our product. We just pass it through. What happens on the grid is what you get. So we also don't lock you into a contract. This is a month-to-month product. So basically, you're just riding what the grid price is. I think we have another slide that shows some of that. There we go. This is part of the dynamic pricing. But indeed, the ISO New England's charter is to provide, first of all, reliable electricity. The second part of the charter is to provide low cost. So when units are bid out to go into service, the first test is, is there it going to help the reliability? Is there transmission available to carry this load? And then the second part is, what's the price? And they're dispatched in order of price. So there really isn't a way that you can get a cheaper price than what the grid's actually doing. I know a few people years ago were able to get some flat rate prices and into the future, and that right now some people still have those, but for the most part, what's coming up now for fixed pricing is just including a lot of additional costs. So we think what we're doing right now in the market is the best way to buy energy, and we help you to make the most of it as well, as like I said. So to that extent, it really does put you in control of both what your capacity costs are, your energy costs are throughout the day, and then as well the demand charge on your other side, the distribution side of your bill. That can be significant as well. I think we have another slide. So one of the things we did, because people are always worried about risk. They said, well, over time, what does your product do? And so we went back 5 years. And the blue line on top here is what the utility prices would be for those same hours and months. And this is all built up from 5 years worth of the 87, 60 hours in a year. So the bar chart on the bottom shows our pricing in its components, and the blue line is the utility. The results are that in general, you'd see that we would save 12%. This is against a utility profile. It's not someone that's done anything to actually change their profile. And then the 15% is for someone who may have actually curtailed their capacity usage. So that's just an example of how this works and how it will actually help to save your energy bill. It can, especially with like growers, your operation is 24/7. You're not just closing down at the end of the day. There's always usage going on in your plants. So, right, without even making any changes, you're likely to be saving some energy, some dollars on your energy spend. I think that's it for our slides. And we wanted to open it up for conversation as well. There's a little bit more on the intelligent platform. We certainly can field some questions on that. We hope to get some of those. Questions? Sam, you got a question for me?
I'm muted. There you go. Okay, good. No, fascinating. And I know you skipped over some of the stuff here at the end.
Yeah.
But
I'm trying to go fast and leave us with a little bit of time for discussion. But
yeah, for sure. And just another reminder to folks, please, if you had questions, drop them in the comments. I've got a ton of questions myself, which is great.
Good.
Or maybe not so great, but I'd love to hear from folks as well. And Dan, I know that I've been approaching some of my clients with this, and just saying, hey, did you know that energy, demand pricing, your demand charge is actually a big part of your power bill, as I mentioned before.
Right.
And if you reduce that, you can benefit. You can get some, you can reduce on your power bill. And the response that I almost invariably get is like, well, yeah, we could shift the hours in which we have our lights on in our grow rooms,
right.
But it would mean having to bring in staff, to be around when, we have to be, running those lights, in like the middle of the night, that kind of thing. So I always kind of wonder if there's really kind of, that much inflexibility in terms of labor and staffing. In the grow room, and folks who are watching, I'd love to maybe kind of see if you have any thoughts on that. But have you heard anything from your customers about that piece of it?
It's a common concern, and particularly in this business where it's incredibly delicate for the product.
Yeah.
But there are different strategies. Like I said, I've heard of people that rotate if they have more than one grow room, they rotate the times that the lighting is on for their crops, and therefore can make the most of their staff as well. It depends on how many hours of tending you need, as opposed to, different life cycles of the plant as well. So those kinds of strategies can help, along with, making sure that you have the up-to-date lighting, certainly your HVAC system, those kinds of things need to be make sure that they're at top efficiency. And many of the things that have new and better controls on them, so that you can actually, take control of what your facility is doing with those products.
Absolutely. And I think there are a lot of technology providers out there that can provide equipment and tools to help cultivators, be flexible, be more flexible in their spaces. I know Tony from TSR, who's on this session right now, His company really kind of does some really interesting, highly efficient LEDs, but also on the back end, they use a lot of technology that enables their customers to really kind of dial in different intensities of lights across even an active growth period. They can reduce that power. So I think
there's definitely, like I said, there's so many technologies out there now that can help with this. And I didn't really touch on the carbon part of this, but because we do the hour-to-hour pricing, we also do the hour-to-hour carbon, and that will be another widget on our dashboard that will show your actual carbon intensity of the grid at any particular hour. So one of the things that we do is to price or look at the actual intensity of carbon on the grid for each hour, and we can roll that up to your annual usage, and you can use that number instead of or in concert with your regular regional scope 2 emissions for reporting for carbon.
And I think, and I kind of, that was the fourth item that I had mentioned was the environmental, benefit. But a fifth thing that I could have also added is on the reporting piece. So I think for publicly listed companies, the SEC has at least signaled their intention to require public companies to disclose their carbon footprint, their carbon emissions to shareholders. And I suspect that those that are associated with electricity consumption are going to be part of that. Of course, they are. That's scope 2 emissions. And if a company were able to point to a dashboard or to data such as you provide and say, well, we were actually our carbon footprint was lower than our competitors because we went out of our way to reduce our energy usage during those peak times when the grid was dirtier than others. So I think that on that reporting piece, that will go a long way to be able to offer that. I think it's a really cool component that you guys are bringing to your platform.
Right. Yeah. The normal way of reporting it is to just take your whole lump sum of kilowatt hours times the regional average, and there's your scope 2 carbon emissions. But it's not necessarily true, especially when you have a flat load. You probably are overemphasizing the scope 2 emissions by using the regional average rather than looking at your actual hour-to-hour load.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a really kind of useful tool. You had mentioned the flat load versus peaky load. Can you talk a little bit about that and kind of in your observation, with your customers, maybe especially in the indoor horticulture space if you're able to. Talk about kind of, what are those things that can help, create a flat load and why a flat load is maybe better than a peaky load?
Yeah. Sam started out pretty much with this about, turning on everything at once, and that can give you a really spiky load. If you think about a manufacturing plant that just, opens up, it's 9 to 5, 9 o'clock in the morning, they just turn on all the lights, make sure the conditioned space is the right temperature, start turning on machinery, and do all that pretty much at the same time, and anticipating their crew coming into work. And at 5 o'clock, all of that goes down. So the ratio of what happened in that morning turn on period to what the total load was for the day is very spiky. And that really is more expensive electricity. Because if you can make that whole load flatter in general, your ICAP charge is going to be lower, your demand charge on the distribution side is going to be lower, and generally your kilowatt hour prices are going to be mixed into some of the lower cost ones along with the higher ones. So it's not just one period of the day that you're getting the pricing, so it evens it out a lot. So I think that people that already have flatter loads should look at, making sure that they're being priced properly, because a flat rate doesn't reward you for any of your load shape whatsoever. It's just a flat price. So that's a big part of what we try to inform people of, that it may not even require you to do any large shifting or cutting demand or any of these things that seem like they're very threatening. Don't have to be, but certainly you can do it without doing those things as well.
Yeah, that's good to know. I think a lot of folks are, you don't want to mess with your electricity, rates if you can, right? I mean, it seems like the fixed rate is 9 times out of 10 people go for because it seems safer, right? But I know time of use, people think it's a very risky. You're playing. I kind of even alluded to it. You're playing the market. You're at a casino. And you roll the dice. You're like, oh, I could get really, in trouble, this month. Just one last thought. I mean, we're approaching the end of the hour. And looking out for questions. I think we're all good. But can you just touch on briefly kind of about that risk and reward piece that people be thinking about?
Exactly, and that's why we did that 5-year look back, to just kind of show that, in fact, that the market does move, but so does the pricing, even flat rate pricing through the utility. Or certainly anything that you'd go out to bid for today would be very high price. That is what we consider like a reverse risk for what we're doing. So we go directly to the grid. It's based on the cheapest power that they can turn on reliably for the system. When you look at a fixed price, usually that's the one where they build in risk premiums. What's the forward pricing going to be? Do we lock in a hedge? Those kinds of things are all, they all cost money. They're part of insurance to make sure that your flat rate stays flat. Like I said, our product doesn't add those things on. So we think that we're less risky.
Interesting. Yeah, it's definitely, it's counterintuitive what a lot of folks think. Especially when you see just the prices going up, but I guess over a longer period of time, the utilities are the ones that actually come out ahead, because they hedge their bets and they pass on that hedge onto the consumers. So I did, for everybody, I posted our information here for follow up. If you have questions for us at CRG and Lighten Your Growth for about the energy and sustainability, kind of sustainability services, reach out. Diane with the Actual Energy. You can reach out to her anytime. I'm assuming, Diane, if somebody wants to learn more about how Wixit come, how to work with you guys, what sort of rate could you get them and just kind of get set up, they would just give you a call?
They certainly can. They can take a look at our webpage, which is also listed here. Kind of gives you a bit of information about us if they're shy and don't want to talk to me. But otherwise, I do enjoy talking about the topic. My email is here, my phone number, and like I said, the webpage is there. We certainly are interested in helping people, especially in these volatile times right now, to navigate their power use.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think this is a tricky time, to be in business, to be a grower for lots of different reasons. And I think just reaching out and just asking for advice and for thoughts, I think can go a long way to make sure that at least you're covered.
Right. So with that, what we're offering, and then what Sam's offering as well, we can kind of team up and pretty much offer to you almost any kind of education that you need to run your business better.
Yeah. I apologize, everybody. I just saw there were some questions that weren't popping up on the LinkedIn thing. I'm also kind of looking at. So for folks of you asked and you had to leave at 12:30, I really apologize. We'll make sure we follow up to you. But Nerio is curious to know, Nerio Rivera, what are the average savings for companies that manage their energy consumption? Do you have any sort of, I don't know, a percentage number that you could throw out there? For that smarter companies, are able to get vis-a-vis those that kind of just do the default stuff?
Yeah, so that was the 5-year look back
Yeah.
slide is really kind of, like I said, it's based on the utility profile. So it's what a normal company would be using. So that's 12% savings
Yeah.
without doing anything, and then 15.4 with ICAP management. But I mean, it really can be many different things. Everybody's hourly usage is different, and
Mhm.
until we, run the numbers, I can't tell you for sure. But certainly, we're interested in doing that as well. If you want to, share with us your bills, we certainly can do an analysis on them and give you an idea of what we think our product would do,
Yeah.
opposed to, whether it's a contract or utility pricing.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah, no, and yeah, I do remember you mentioned the 12, 15%. Those are pretty impressive numbers,
Right.
for, even kind of not rolling doing a,
Right.
anything, to change your equipment, or, to making those upgrades in terms of your capital expenses,
That's correct.
but just for, thinking about your power contracts, and kind of a different way of kind of looking at your price. I want to get to Nancy, who is curious about how the state reporting requirements fit into this, and how Actual Energy can help growers with their reporting process. I'm assuming, Nancy, you mean Massachusetts, because I think that's the only state that really has energy reporting regulations. But by Diane, yesterday you had mentioned that you're plugged into the Cannabis Power Score tool. Is that right?
Yeah, we can work with the power score tools, and also Birdo is one of the ones in Massachusetts, in Boston, and I know there's some others in other states that are starting to do more of a citywide kind of idea of limits on carbon. And Birdo actually has some dollars teeth behind it, so that if you go over a certain amount, they actually are going to fine you for not
Mm-hmm.
reducing your carbon load. So if that's any example of what's going to happen, in the future, those things are interesting to us, because we know we can help you with those.
Yeah.
I know New York has some law on the books too that's just coming out, the city. So, I think that there's always changing times, and the product we have is one that changes and is flexible with the times. We
Mm-hmm.
already offer a number of tools that you wouldn't have at a flat rate price.
Yeah. Right. Well, and that visibility,
Yeah,
into your actual energy usage, which I'm
exactly.
thinking, guessing that's how the name of your company came about.
Yes.
But also then how that rolls up to,
Mhm.
bigger effects,
Exactly.
your
And,
demand
like I
charts,
said,
your carbon
because
footprint. Yeah.
it gives you the flexibility to look at, what's happening, and what you can do about it.
Yeah.
The limit's almost endless. Yeah, it's almost endless.
Yeah, no, sorry. You had mentioned Massachusetts and Boston and New York. Can you remind us the states that you work in? If there are any that you don't, if it's because they're regulated differently,
Yeah.
or how and where can you guys serve customers?
So we serve deregulated, and I saw that question as well. We serve deregulated states. Right now, our footprint is New England, all the states except for Vermont, which is not
Hmm.
deregulated.
Hmm.
We will soon be in New York, and very shortly after that, we should be in the PJM area. We are not presently in MISO, Texas, or California, but things are progressing, and we may get to some of those other states as well. But primarily, we started in New England. Like I said, New England and New York right now.
Hmm. Great. Yeah, I know. The country is chopped up in these different
Yeah,
grid territories, and it's
right.
it's for folks who don't live in this world. It's kind of it's vexing. Why some states allow this, others don't.
Right, exactly.
Um, but no, this is great. I think all of our questions are addressed. Kind of going through and looking. Yeah, they are, and we've gone over. So
Okay.
anyway, I want to thank you, Diane, for
Thank
taking
you
my,
for
my,
having
my invitation to have you come and talk about your time of use and your demand, energy demand,
me.
opportunities that you bring people. And yeah, to everybody who joined us and hung out, thank you so much. I hope you learned a little bit, enjoyed it, got to do something fun while you're having your lunch. And this will be posted on YouTube. I will put a link to that as well as our slide deck on the Leafy Seminars website, so you can have that. And otherwise, look forward to being in touch, and stay tuned for information about the next Leafy seminar. It's going to be out. Hopefully, it'll be on solar energy for growers. So with that, thank you all, and have a great day. And thanks again, Diane. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me, Sam. And our product works with solar too. So.
Oh, cool. All right. Maybe we'll have you back then.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Diane.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.